Howdy, and welcome to the second night of our speaker presentations. My name is Meg Camelli, and this year I have had the pleasure of serving as the Internal Outreach Executive for the Big Event 2021. This year, the Big Event has been challenged in many ways. One of those obstacles was ensuring that the mission of the Big Event was not lost in the midst of planning one of the most unique days of service Texas A&M has seen. We wanted residents and students to be reminded that the Big Event is about serving those around you, saying thank you to a neighbor, and finding small ways to live out the Aggie spirit, no matter what climate we might find ourselves in. Our speakers this evening truly represent our mission, and we hope that after listening to what they have to say, you will join us in the passion we have for the Big Event and the importance of it at Texas A&M. Our first speaker this evening is Colonel John J. Brewer. Colonel Brewer graduated from Texas A&M and will be retiring from serving as the Senior Associate Director of the Aggie Band at the end of this year.
Well, howdy, I'm Colonel J.O. Brewer, class of 1981. I started getting interested in Texas A&M University in 1968 when I was 10 years old, and I picked up my first trombone as a fifth grader at De Zavala Elementary School in Channelview, Texas. As I progressed through band and I graduated, I joined the Fighting Texas Aggie Band. My dad was class of 43. He was a freshman member of the Aggie football team the year the varsity won national championship. But what I experienced at Texas A&M through my time in the Aggie Band was, of course, first followership, learning how to pay attention to detail, take instruction, and carry that out to the best of your ability. I also learned how much I didn't know about managing my time, particularly when it came to my academic goals and progress here on the campus. But I graduated from Texas A&M in 1981 with a degree in mechanized agriculture. And I was on my way to go to work for John Deere, and the call came, and I was asked to stay here on campus by Colonel Joe T. Haney, the director of the band at that time. I knew nothing about that, but also I never worked one day for John Deere. I saw this as a very unique opportunity, which it has been, to stay here in Aggie land. And the number one reason I decided to do that was because I thought there was a small chance that I might be able to make a positive difference in some young people's lives. 40 years later, that all turned out to be very true. Because you see, for me, I've been surrounded by very intelligent, motivated, hard-working young people who call themselves Texas Aggies. Just like the Texas Aggies on and off this campus that work tirelessly year in and year out on a community support program called the Big Event. The Big Event happens every year where students go out into the Bryan College Station community and lend their hand to community members. And they paint and they clean up and they trim bushes and perhaps mow the grass or whatever people want them to do. But what I know is when they show up, what the people in our community talk most about, other than the work that's been done, is how impressed they are with these young people, again, who call themselves Texas Aggies, that are learning and practicing servant leadership, serving others to make their life a bit brighter. So this year, as we begin and kick off this campaign for the Big Event, not only do I suggest, but I highly encourage each of you to take a bit of your time, your financial support, and your interest in this great Aggie tradition called the Big Event. You're going to be glad you did, because you're supporting a group of young people who are learning community service, who are learning support of others, and who are practicing servant leadership, a skill that will pay off for them and all of us from now on. Gig 'em Aggies.
Thank you, Colonel J.L. Brewer. Our next speaker is Porter S. Garner III, Class of 79, President and CEO of the Association of Former Students.
Howdy. Coming to you live from the Clayton W. Williams Jr. Alumni Center on behalf of the Association of Former Students. I want to thank Brandon Tomlin, Class of 22, for inviting me to share some thoughts with you all today and be able to convey perhaps my years of experience at Texas A&M, what they've meant to me, and how they can benefit the big event, one of the greatest traditions Texas A&M has. I go back to 1981 when I first started with the Association of Former Students, March the 9th, 1981 to be exact. And I believe it was the summer of 1982, the first time I heard about the big event. I was traveling then for the association. I wasn't on campus that much, but I thought to myself, what a great concept to involve Aggies in service to others. Now you've got to understand something, and this may not be widely known, but in 1982, the core values were not yet established. Now while we've always had selfless service as part of our tradition, and that dates back to our founding in 1879, it wasn't until 2005 that we actually formally established our 6 core values, and selfless service being one of those, perhaps the greatest. But in 1982, the big event was born, and it was way ahead of its time. And in my opinion, serves as one of the greatest traditions Texas A&M has, mainly because I believe, much like the association, its mission is to engage Aggies and to inspire them to something greater than themselves, to inspire them to serve others. We do that at the association every day. In fact, we've done it for 142 years. It is much of what brought me to Texas A&M. When Brandon Tomlin, Class 22, asked me to speak, he wanted me to share some of my personal story. Now, I think my personal story is pretty boring, and I think it's much like every other Aggies who have come to this great university. But I'll tell you this, growing up in Laredo, Texas, being raised by the class of 1945, I honestly had some thoughts of going to Texas Tech to follow a girl, but I didn't do that. And the reason I came to A&M is because after all of my analysis, I wanted to be an Aggie. I wanted to enjoy the great legacy of being part of the Aggie network. I wanted to enjoy the camaraderie and the experience and the memories that I heard my dad speak of and share so fondly. And while you could have gotten a great academic education anywhere, what you couldn't get was the Aggie spirit and the Aggie experience. And Brandon, that is why I came to Texas A&M, and I never made a better decision in my life. Texas A&M has been a big part of my life for over 50 years now. I've been proud and privileged to serve the association for almost 40 years. In fact, in less than a month, I will have my 40th anniversary with the association. I know I don't look that old, but I am, trust me. But in 1982, what I want to convey to y'all is that I was inspired by the big event. I was inspired by the fact that a tradition was being born that would engage Aggies in support and service of each other and ultimately our community. And today, that tradition has grown like no other. Today, it perhaps is one of the biggest engagement traditions on any campus in America, involving over 20,000 students and serving thousands of our community members. And at the end of the day, what it does is confirm the selfless service, the spirit of Aggie land, all that is great about being an Aggie, service to others, respect, all the things that we hold so dear. And I can't tell you how much it means to me to know that we have Aggies that are continuing that legacy 40 years later. In great alignment with the Association of Former Students, I might add. Every day, this great association, and quite candidly, for almost 100 years now, our mission has involved service. It has involved support, whether to each other or to Texas A&M. And as a part of my story, I can tell you that not only coming to Texas A&M involved wanting to be a part of that great legacy, but coming to work for the Association of Former Students in 1981 was indeed the same. I wanted to join an organization that did things that were above self. The impact that the association makes is unmatched and unrivaled by any other alumni association in the country. And the alignment that we enjoy with the big event is such that we engage Aggies in support of Texas A&M, in support of each other. We raise the annual fund for Texas A&M and have for almost 50 years now. And in that regard, it's not unlike what Aggies do through the big event. They engage each other, they serve, and they support. And in terms of how they do that, you can't do it without money. We can't do what we do at the Association of Former Students without the generous support of this year, or last year, almost 59,000 loyal, generous Aggies. It takes financial resources to be able to do what the big event does. And we are proud, since their inception, to have been a strong supporter, both financially and in spirit, of the big event. But the alignment is such that we've got to have resources as well to do what we do at the association. So I'm advocating today for your generous support of the big event. I'm advocating today for your generous support of the Association of Former Students. Much of what we do involves supporting over 1,200 student organizations every year, the big event among them. And as they go out and help our community, they spread the word of Texas A&M, and they gain attention for Texas A&M in terms of the spirit of Aggieland. Many, many times in my career, I've been on other campuses. I've been speaking to other groups that did not involve Texas A&M. And invariably, they ask about how we do what we do at Texas A&M. I can often point to our traditions, some of our grandest tradition, muster, silver taps, but indeed big event. And oftentimes, I've seen people want to emulate our traditions. Muster, Arkansas has tried that. Silver taps, the Citadel tried that. Big event, I am certain it has been tried at many different campuses. That is a tremendous compliment to all of you who are involved with big event. But as far as I can tell at the Association of Former Students, we are pleased and proud to support the big event because of all the kids that it engages and involves at Texas A&M in support of our community. What a great tradition. So on behalf of the Association of Former Students, I want everybody listening and watching to know how much we appreciate everyone involved with the big event, what they do for this great tradition, what it means to Texas A&M and our great legacy as Aggies, and what it means for our community. So on behalf of the Association of Former Students, let me leave you with this. There is no greater service than that to others. And by serving others, you ultimately serve yourself. And so I'm asking for your support of this great tradition, the big event, and I'm asking for your support of the association so we can not only help big event, but indeed help 1,100 other organizations on this campus. It is important, Aggies. It is a great legacy that makes up the other education at Texas A&M. And when I tell you it makes up the great tradition of the other education, I can tell you that when I travel, that is what other institutions, that is what other alumni associations try to emulate. They all have great academic programs and a great academic education. What they don't have is Texas Aggies and the spirit of Aggieland. And that's what the association is all about promoting. So thank you all for having me as a speaker today. Thank you for what you do, big event. Thank you for making a difference in the lives of thousands of our community members and for continuing the great legacy of selfless service that we are known worldwide for. Gig 'em.
Thank you, Mr. Gardner. And now we will hear from our director, Kristen Guzak.
Howdy, everyone. My name is Kristen Guzak, and I have the pleasure of serving as the director for the big event this year. I want to thank each of you for tuning into our fundraiser program this evening. When considering how we are going to make a fundraiser event happen in the midst of the challenges we face to remain safe, we decided to take advantage of this opportunity to do something that had never been done in big event history, an online silent auction and fundraiser. This allowed us to safely extend the opportunity to participate in the big event silent auction and fundraiser to more people in the Aggie community than ever before, and grow our outreach to include more of our friends and families and neighbors in the Bryan College Station area. I want to thank our internal outreach team for taking on this challenge and putting together a great virtual program. They exemplify the Aggie can-do spirit, and it has been a pleasure to see how this has come together through their leadership. I want to take a moment to give a brief history regarding the big event. The big event began in 1982 by a single student, Joe Nussbaum, and where he wanted to show his gratitude to the local community. What was his hope? To serve the community through a handful of people and a few projects serving the residents has grown to be the largest student-run service project in the nation. Along with the growth that we have seen on our own campus, the Big Event has influenced other universities to start their own Big Event, and similar programs can now be found at 125 campuses across the nation. Each year at Texas A&M alone, around 18,000 students go out to serve approximately 2,000 residents. As you can imagine, successfully organizing and planning the Big Event takes a lot of time and people. 14 executive leaders, 46 committee members, and 250 staff assistants who have been working for months to ensure the Big Event successfully and safely serves our community this March. It really is a big operation. This is a year that everyone in the organization, team leadership will remember. Our planning and service looks very different from past years, and I would add is perhaps more important than ever. Reflecting back on my own time serving with a Big Event, going all the way back to a freshman year when I was a volunteer, I have realized that this event stands for more than just helping residents mulch their yard, plant flowers, or build a fence. It stands for a community made up of folks of many different backgrounds and experiences, united in a single goal to give back, to show gratitude by giving their time to serve others. In a year where it has felt as though isolation and division prevail, having the opportunity to put on an event that has a central focus on uniting our campus and community together is something I am proud to be a part of. As our student volunteers take to the community on March 27th, their actions are bigger than just completing a job. They are a direct reflection of the Aggie spirit and our core value of selfless service. This one day is a small picture of what Aggies will represent and stand for the rest of their lives. We are not only sending out students to see what it means to be part of the Bryan College Station community, but ultimately we are preparing students to be good members of their own community, working to love their neighbors and serve a greater good beyond themselves. Aggies make an impact wherever they go, and the Big Event is a picture of who Aggies are and who they will become one day in their community, wherever that community is around the world. Aggies are everywhere, and this unified aspiration to work for the good of our neighbors makes the Aggie Network stronger and even more unified as a force for good in all the communities where we live. We have recently had moments to reflect upon our why behind what we do. I think I speak for everyone involved in the Big Event when I say we do this to develop future engineers, nurses, businessmen and women, doctors, teachers, and Aggie graduates of all professions who understand the value of selfless service. It is sad to think that for many students, they will live 4 or 5 years in the Bryan College Station area without ever meeting a full-time resident of our community. The Big Event connects students and members of our community, and we hope create a sense of unity, a bond between our campus and folks around the university. And in essence, our hope is to extend the Aggie community to many more people so they know about the care we have for our neighbors. With the challenges faced in the last year, the isolation and anxiety that have been part of our lives, these connections between students and residents are even more important. While the connecting part of the day will look different with masks and physical distancing, the purpose still stands and the opportunity remains for a moment where students are given a bigger vision of our community and come to understand and be grateful for the support that the community has given to them. This past year, it has taken the entire team coming together and putting forth all of their effort to prepare in new and creative ways to make this event happen. Through it all, our team of leaders has recognized the importance that this tradition carries on for years to come. One of the ways we have sought to expand our reach in a time of social distancing, mask, and staying home is by offering virtual jobs to our residents. Things as simple as tutoring students or reading a book to a family, or even just talking to a resident. This allows for the resident who may be reluctant to interact with students to still have the experience of being served while in the comfort of their own homes. For our in-person activities, we've given them clear guidelines that have been established for students or residents to follow to allow for interactions to be safe. I hope that the background that I've shared with the Big Event has helped you to better understand our purpose and mission, why we think the Big Event is so important, and what we are working to achieve. It is the sincere wish of every member of the leadership team that the big event fulfill our mission to bring unity to a campus and the community, to say thank you to the community that supports our university so passionately. I also say thank you to each and every one of you for supporting us and the support you've shown us through being in attendance tonight, bidding on an auction item, or giving to the Big Event Endowment. Because of you, we have the privilege of seeing students to step forward, to lead, and to serve. I pray this Aggie legacy of building bridges to our community and unity and purpose for our students will continue for years to come. Gig 'em, and thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. Thank you all for joining us tonight. And as a reminder, our auction does close at 9 p.m. tonight, and all resident job requests will close tomorrow at midnight. If you're looking around the auction page and you don't see an item that interests you, but you would still like to support the big event, there is a tab on our page to give to our endowment, which will go towards furthering the mission of the big event in years to come. So thank you all again for joining us tonight, and gig 'em.